find a way to shine your light in whatever industry that you're in. Some industries are easier to do that than others, but you can do that wherever you're at. Maybe you're serving food, and I'm not necessarily creating Bible food, but I'm engaging with human beings who will benefit from the gospel. And so in what ways can I do my work so that I can help shine that light, either how I work or how I talk to people when I'm serving them? If there are creatives who are, passionate about their faith, there's so many different ways that you can communicate your passion and do good kingdom work. Don't compare your kingdom work to someone else's kingdom work and think it's less valuable. You do what you can do with what God has given you where you're at. Strive for more. Try to stretch yourself and grow your talents, but don't begrudge the 5-talent man if you feel like you're a 1-talent. Use what God's given you and glorify him in that process. And Jesus actually says that he will entrust us with more if we prove ourselves dependable with what we've been given.
Welcome to Sheila's Take, your go-to podcast for thoughtful insights on love, faith, health, fitness, relationships, and navigating today's challenges through a spiritual perspective. Join me, Sheila Dunbar, as we explore various aspects of life with a mindful and godly approach. Tune in for engaging discussions on all things meaningful and transformative. Welcome to another episode of Sheila's Take, where I dive into deep stories and visions of inspiring individuals across various fields. Today, I have a truly special guest joining us, Craig Dehut. Craig is a seasoned freelance video producer with over 15 years of experience and the co-founder of Appian Media. In 2015, driven by concern for the lack of engaging biblical media for young people, he and his business partner, Stuart Peck, embarked on a mission to bridge the gap between younger audiences and Bible study. Appian Media stands out for its commitment to accuracy, professional production, and free accessibility, producing award-winning series, podcasts, workbooks, and children's videos that have reached millions worldwide. Their impact is not just measured in views and awards, but in the transformative experiences they've created for individuals globally. Today, Craig will share his journey, the challenges and successes of Appian Media, and his passion for making the Bible more accessible and relevant, especially for homeschooled families and faith-based communities. Welcome, Craig. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm so happy for you. I'm absolutely thrilled to welcome you to my podcast, and I thank you so much for agreeing to be my guest. I'm looking forward to our conversation and excited for my listeners to benefit from your experience. So let's jump right in. Why don't you share what initially inspired you to pursue a career in video production?
Ooh, that's a great question. It was a slow burn there. When I was a teenager, someone actually let our family borrow a camcorder, and our family had always been filled with creatives. We liked to draw pictures and write stories, and suddenly we've got a camera in our hands, and I've got 6 siblings. We are a film crew in and of ourselves. And so, yeah, we would go in the backyard and we would shoot all kinds of fun, silly, ridiculous things. And somewhere middle of high school, I'd say, started to do it enough where I thought this actually would be something I'd love to pursue. And decided to go to film school. Graduated from there in 2007. And really, I had aspirations to be the next Steven Spielberg. I was going to be a writer director and specifically creating content with with biblical truths and create moral, family friendly content. And what happened, as typically happens, is that path was not the straight line that I thought that it would be.
As always.
Twists and turns, but that's the fun of the journey. So spent some time working in news, I actually worked as a video game animator for a while,
Mm-hmm.
but eventually kind of fell in love with the ability to tell stories, real stories about real people, documentary style, and kind of picked that up when I was working in news.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I met our co-founder, Stuart Peck, my family and I had moved to the Indianapolis area, and his had moved just a few months prior or after us, I guess, somewhere around the same time. Another fellow Christian creative, and of course we had to stop and meet for coffee and get to know each other. And it was Stuart actually who, the more we got talking, the more we realized there was this gap that we were finding in compelling, professionally produced biblical media, specifically for young people, but really for any age,
Yeah.
where we could show the lands of the Bible and get people excited about the biblical text again, all shot in a documentary style, and then Appian Media was born.
And what kind of challenges did you face?
Mm. One of the main challenges was that neither Stu nor myself actually went to school for business or anything like that.
Yeah.
He studied journalism and video production from that angle, and like I said, I was auditioning actors and writing scripts, and I had my heart and my mind set on feature films. And so
Okay.
one of the first challenges was we've got this idea, we think it's impactful, we think it's needed. How do you go about doing something like this? The original idea was to take a group of filmmakers over to Israel and make
Mm.
a series of videos about the life of Jesus. Our series that we ended up calling "Following the Messiah," and
Okay.
you need money for that, and we needed to raise funds for that. So we decided early on to become a 501(c)(3), a not-for-profit. And with some of the experience that I had working at some of my previous positions, was able to raise the necessary funds and get people on board and
Mm.
interested in what we were doing. And so that is an ongoing challenge. And so it
Yeah.
wasn't just that first project, but everything we've done subsequent. You need to raise the funds. You need to keep the interest. You need to get people
Exactly.
invested and on board. And that's a challenge. And it's a fun kind of challenge. How do you do that? How do you maintain interest? How do you bring in the dollars? Because one key thing about Appian Media, different than a lot of other biblical production companies, is the content that we create, we give away for free.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that we create, you can go online, you can go on our YouTube channel and our website and see it for free. In order to do that, we have to raise the funds on the front end.
Right. Right.
Um, Many other challenges. I mean, shooting video in foreign countries is not easy, and producing content when this is actually currently none of our full-time work. It's very much a passion project for many of us. It's steadily becoming more of mine,
Mhm.
but there's challenges associated with that.
Wait,
And
wait,
so,
wait.
yeah,
I don't want to, I'm going to interrupt you right there. You said
absolutely.
this is not your full time?
No, no. So I produce video and shoot video for other clients and
Okay.
other non-for-profits as well.
Okay.
So what I do for Appian, it's about 50 to 60% of my year. It's certainly where my heart is.
Yeah.
Um, but there are other clients, especially other non-for-profits that I do video work for, that I love helping other people,
Hmm.
share their stories and share their mission with other people. And so, yeah, currently I'm doing both. If you were to ask me what my full-time job is, I don't know how to answer that question. Um, but I'm able to do what I love,
Right.
and I think we've been able to benefit people with it.
That's a blessing. I know you had a concern for the lack of engaging biblical media for young people.
Yes,
Um, can you elaborate more on how this concern shaped your vision?
sure. So Stu actually brought up in some of our earliest coffee meetings, he was in the middle at the time of teaching a high school Bible class. And it was troubling to him where these young people were coming in and many of them were just not engaged with what was happening
Yeah.
there. They were during the day at school learning on tablets and watching videos, but then they would come into Bible class, and a lot of times the teachers would say, put all of that away, put the tech and the media away, and let's open the book. There's nothing wrong with the book. There's
Right.
power in the book, right? But the way that people learn so many other in so many other arenas is through digital means and through technology and through media. And Sue said, what, I would go online and I would try to find videos to show them what Jerusalem looks like, or show them, Bethlehem. And he said, I was either finding content that was accurate, historically and biblically accurate, but it was just not well made,
Yeah.
and it was not keeping the kids' attention, or it was really polished, it was really nice, but I kept having to give caveats of, well, this part is actually a little embellished and this part isn't really accurate. Or it was accurate, it was well done, but he had to pay for it before he knew exactly what the content was. And he said, what would it take for us to create something that's biblically and historically accurate, that's professionally produced, it's fun to watch, and it's done well, and it's free, because that's what I'm looking for right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's what we started with, was a desire to re-engage people with the text. We wanted people to get excited to read the Bible again,
Yeah.
and especially young people. But we found out with the release of our very first series, it's not an issue with just young people. Everyone loves to see these kinds of visuals. They love to see the stories of the Bible and visualize what those things were like. And it really does benefit our study when we have the right kind of images going through our imaginations.
I always say that I am a visual person, and I'm realizing more and more people that I'm around are other like that also. I can sit down and you can show me you can show me on a piece of paper. I'm like, okay. But the minute I see it, I'm like, okay, I get it. I get it. It
Yeah.
clicks, it works. Definitely understand what you're saying. It's not just young people, it's a lot of the people older my age, and it helps. It helps a lot. It brings back the passion, you know.
Yes.
How do you measure the success of your content beyond awards and view counts?
Sure. And that's something that we have said from the very beginning, is we believe that the mission of Appian Media is to get people re-engaged with the word, to get them passionate about their study. It was never intended to replace Bible study, but to enhance Bible study. But how do you measure it, especially when you're giving it away for free?
Exactly.
You can't just say, yeah, we sold millions of dollars worth of.
Right.
No, we didn't. It's free. So how do you measure it? There are ways that you can do that. Obviously, it's on YouTube. We can measure those analytics. I'm very much kind of a nerd when it comes to that. I love to see where people are watching it, how long they're watching it. But really, for us, it has to do with the messages that we're getting from people. The parents who are saying, my kid just sat for 2 hours and watched Bible videos.
Yeah.
They're asking me to learn, and the first time ever. Or it's the people who are 80, 90 years old saying, I've been a Christian for decades. I'm never going to be able to go over there myself.
Yeah.
But now you've brought the Bible lands to me. Or it's stories like this young man who came up to Stuart apparently and said, he just watched some of our content, and he was like, you guys have made the Bible cool. And like Stu and I know, no, like the Bible's cool and it doesn't need any of our help. But the understanding was this kid had suddenly put the Bible in the same category as the things that he considered really cool. It's where it ought to be. And if our efforts can in some way do that, to us, that's a success. We actually have it in our core values document that we won't measure the success of Appian Media through the viewership or through the funds raised, but through whether or not it's accomplishing what it set out to accomplish. And so we've been blessed, since 2016 was our very first production trip. So we released our first pieces of content in early 2017. And since that time, we've been able to produce 4 major series and 2 children's series, um, numerous podcasts and several workbooks. And the audience does continue to grow, and the support does continue to grow. Probably at this point, 12 million views across all the various platforms. For me, I'm more excited to say it's in about 160 countries where people
Wow,
have consumed the content.
that's amazing.
And I'm thrilled with that because many of these countries are places that more than likely foreign evangelism would not necessarily be as
Mhm.
welcome.
Yeah.
But they've got YouTube, and so they can watch these videos and the gospel can get there. And so to us, that's how we measure success.
And that's an excellent way to do it. There's nothing more rewarding than having a parent or someone come to you and say how compelling it is. When you have a teen saying to your partner, "You're making the Bible cool again,"
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
come on, that's beautiful. Now, Appian Media prides itself on accuracy, professionalism. Um, can you dive into how you ensure content and maintain the production quality?
Yes. So when it comes to accuracy, obviously our principal concern is that we're representing the book well.
Mhm.
So if the Bible says it, we want to make sure that we're saying what the Bible says. Um, and for us, that involves months on the front end of members of our team writing that material. Jeremy Dehut, he's actually my older brother,
Mhm.
is one of the hosts. But Barry Britnell is another host of ours. Justin Dobbs does a lot of our writing, where
Mhm.
they will spend months in the text,
Yeah.
writing it out and confirming those things. But then it's also very important for us is after the content has been shot and edited, we love to send it into focus groups. So we share it with
Okay.
people outside of our own team,
Mhm.
of a variety of backgrounds and age levels and areas, just to make sure that we didn't miss anything or
Yeah.
misrepresent anything. When it comes to historical accuracy, we really do like to interview what we refer to as experts, interview people typically over there, archaeologists or historians or guides who can tell us about the places that we're visiting or the things
Mhm.
that we're seeing. And we want those things verified and those things
Yeah.
fact checked. Um, we're we're not perfect. The Bible is perfect, but we are
Mhm.
not perfect. And so there have been some instances, even after a video has been released, where we realized there was a slip of the tongue, or we included information and messed up a date or messed up a number, and we'll be quick to admit it. We'll re-edit the video
Mhm.
and send that back out because that is something that is core to us. We want to make sure that what is being produced is accurate to the best of our abilities. And as far as professionally produced, it involves getting a good team involved, a talented team of people. And so I'm one of the shooters, but one of several. And so we've got other people there
Mhm.
who join us on our trips that are shooting the video, recording the sound. Stu has done quite a bit of the audio recording on our past productions. Most of us have been professionally trained or do this for a living,
Mhm.
and it's always sourcing that creative talent and then pushing ourselves. We want our next project to be better than the one before, and so as I'm sure you can relate, technology moves fast.
It
What
it
worked
does.
this year is completely irrelevant next year. And so keeping up with tech and making sure that we're using the best equipment that we have access to, that we have the funds for, and just telling a good story.
Yeah.
And that's something that we strive for.
How do you keep your content engaging and strike a balance with your young audiences while maintaining the accuracy and the depth of your biblical studies? Because I know it has to be difficult to get a young person to sit down, like you said, and be engaged in it. What do you do that's holding their attention? That's
Right.
making a young person want to go to your business partner and say, "Hey, you made the Bible cool again." Well, how
Right.
how do you get to that point?
It's It's a matter of trial and error. It's what works for us. My kids are guinea pigs as well because I'll show them
Yeah.
videos and realize, wow, this part's too long. Um, but what we have found is if the content is interesting and accurate, oftentimes just showing them the place and really getting into the place. We
Hmm.
don't like to do, there's someone lecturing and Jerusalem just happens to be in the background. Like, no, we're gonna take you into Jerusalem. We're gonna go through the markets. We're gonna talk to the people. We're gonna eat the food. Just showing them those things oftentimes keeps their attention. And it's finding that balance of this isn't your average reality TV show where we feel like we have to manufacture drama or manufacture excitement. Um, we want it to be real. We want it to be authentic. If you watch much of our content, you will realize that sometimes exciting things have just happened.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, especially our most recent production that we released called Out of Egypt, and
Hmm.
studying the story of the Exodus, trying to help people understand the difficulty of such a trek. We didn't make it up. We really tried to pull the curtain back and show our crew and the difficulty of our crew on this.
Yeah.
Uh, that was not, manufactured. It really was just as difficult, probably more so than you see in the video. Um, but I also think that we don't give kids enough credit. Again, we're not, principally making the content for kids. Um, we know that it appeals to all age
Mm.
groups, but I've got a 6-year-old boy who sits through 2 hours of this
Wow.
stuff. And I don't think it's just because dad helped to make it. Um, he wants to know and he wants
Yeah.
to learn. And
Yeah.
I think kids are smarter than we give them credit for and will stay seated and engaged if we treat them, if we treat them as smart as they really are. And
Exactly.
so we've been able to see great success of kids being engaged. I personally don't love it when people binge watch our content where they, watch 4 5 hours
Hmm.
worth of stuff. What I would love for them to do is watch some of it and get back into the text.
Yeah.
Hey, I read the story or I watched the story of David and Goliath in the Valley of Elah, and then I turned to First Samuel and read about it. Um, but people do. They watch large chunks of it, and I'm glad that it's a benefit to them in that
Yeah.
way.
You just want to sit there, you want to get it all at one time. If you watch it, you read the text, I think it's a little bit more uh get engaging, and it hits a little different. It hits a
Yeah.
little different. Are there any kind of lessons you've learned in your 15 years of experience that you believe are crucial for aspiring video producers to know?
Mm. That is a subject near and dear to my heart, is trying to inspire the
Mhm.
next generation of creatives. Um, yes, I went to film school. I
Mhm.
only went for 2 years of it. I learned more by doing than I did sitting in the classroom.
Mhm.
Now, I'm thankful for my education. My instructors were very good at what they knew and what they taught,
Yeah.
but you learn by doing.
Exactly.
And one of the main things that I encourage creatives is go out there and do, and know that your first few projects are gonna not be great. You know, in
Be
fact,
honest
there's a
with
reason
yourself.
why my first projects are nowhere on the internet anymore. I
Yeah.
scrubbed those for obvious reasons, but
Yeah.
you got to do them. You got to
Mhm.
do them, and then learn so that the next ones are better, and the next ones are better. But don't get discouraged that your first efforts aren't everything you hoped and dreamed. But what did you learn in that process? So then the next one is better. So the next one is better, and then surround yourself with people who are better at your craft than you are.
Mhm. Yeah.
Don't ever assume that you're the most talented person in the room. You're not.
Yeah.
So surround yourself with the people who push you and make you go, "Oh, wow, like I hadn't thought of that. I want to be as good as they are."
Right.
Uh, and I believe that's what we've done with our team. I'm not going to be, the one to tell you that I'm the best shooter on our team or
Mhm.
even the best editor on our team. But I surround myself with people who do push me to do more and to learn, and just keep at it, keep trying, and keep reminding yourself what your objective and what your mission is. For me, it was I wanted to tell stories that positively changed people, that influenced them for the better. I wanted them to be better after watching my content than they were going in. And so that's the thing that has motivated me with everything that I do, especially with what I do with Appian. Um, and so figure out what that mission is for you and keep after it. And even when the projects are small, even when they're maybe not exactly fulfilling that mission, what are the things that you're learning, even in those smaller projects, to help you with your bigger goal?
I love that. A lot of times people will be discouraged and not want to go any further. We're living in an age where everything is likes and
Mm,
views, and oh, I didn't get as many views as I wanted to, so I don't think this is working out. Let me try something different. I feel it. I'm the type of person that if you continue, like you said, on the journey that you're supposed to be on, you as long as you know what you're supposed to do and you keep doing it, eventually it will work out for you. And you're right.
yeah.
Surround yourself with people who know more than you because you cannot be the smartest person in the room. There's
Nope.
always going to be
Nope.
someone smarter. And I want to be around people who are smarter than I am. I don't want to be around someone who doesn't know as much as I do. I want them to know more. That's the only way you're going to learn. That's the only way you're going to stretch yourself.
Yeah. And we're real open about, the success of Appian Media. We're thankful for the things that we've been able to do. Um, but if you look at the graph of our YouTube channel, for the first 3 or 4 years, nothing went viral. We got very few views on most of our
Mm,
stuff, and we had less than 5,000 subscribers for the
really?
first several years.
Several years.
Several years. We
Wow.
were still making the content. It
Mhm.
wasn't primarily being produced for YouTube. That was just an avenue. Our objective was something else. And so we weren't discouraged, but wouldn't you know, slowly but surely, the more we kept producing, the
Mhm.
better at it that we got. Eventually, it grabbed an audience. And especially, it was one of those kind of hidden blessings of COVID. When the world shut down and people
Mhm.
weren't able to worship, they weren't able to go to their Bible classes and learn, they went online looking for the content that we had been producing for the last 3 or 4 years. And our channel really started to take off. And, we're not even close to Mr. Beast level here. We're still working at our first 100,000. That's what we've got in our sights. We're not there
Yeah.
yet. But something happened in year 4 and
Mm.
5 and 6 that
Mhm.
if we had quit in year 3, we never would have experienced. And so that's an encouragement to creatives is your first 50 videos may not amount to much
Mhm.
online. Maybe you don't get those likes or those views, but it is beneficial because it's teaching you how to do the thing. So
Mhm.
it's never wasted time. It's never wasted creativity. Every moment that you spend actively pursuing the thing that you love is not wasted time. So keep at it, keep working at it. And eventually something's going to happen where the right kind of people are going to find the thing that you're creating and benefit from it.
That's inspiring to me. My personal journey, myself, it's very inspiring to for you to say that, just to keep on and it's not, everything's not gonna not gonna always be roses, but you sticking and saying several years that it took
Hmm.
and not giving up, it lets me know that there is a reason why we do what we do.
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
and no matter what, as long as it's a passion for you and you believe in it, just keep doing it and you learn from it and you keep going on and eventually you will see the rewards of it.
Yeah. So don't give up. Don't
Don't
give
give
up.
up.
Keep at it.
Don't give up.
And don't base your opinion of yourself on what people do or don't do with your content online. Like that's just a terrible gauge of, determining your own self-worth is what the internet thinks about you. Like,
Mhm.
don't do that.
Yes, definitely. Looking ahead, what exciting projects or goals do you have for the upcoming years?
Sure. So we are currently in post-production of our next set of children's videos. We're calling it Lessons from the Land, the Exodus. So while we were over in Egypt and Jordan filming the content for Out of Egypt, we also shot content for our children's series. And so I'm in the middle of editing that, and Lord willing, we'll have that released. With all of the videos that we produce, we have these printed workbooks that accompany them. And they've got full page photos and maps and QR codes that when you scan them, it links to corresponding videos. And so we've got a workbook coming out for Out of Egypt, as well as a workbook coming out for that Lessons from the Land, the Exodus. As far as future projects in the coming years, there's a lot more Bible to do. There's no end of stories. I think that we've got our eyes set on trying to do the rest of the New Testament. And so we have done a 10-episode series about the gospel, about the life of Jesus. Things get really interesting after his resurrection in the book of Acts, specifically Paul's missionary journeys. And so that's something that we've got our eyes set on, and Lord willing, we'll start the development and pre-production of that soon. So
how do you envision the future of biblical media evolving, and what role do you see your media company playing in that landscape?
yeah, it is fascinating to see when I think back even just 10 years, or I think back, maybe let me put it this year, when I graduated graduated from film school in 2007. Camera phones were not a thing. Like, we were taking 1 megapixel photos on our phones, but no phones were shooting video in 2007.
Yeah.
The idea of shooting 4K video on a phone was just, it wasn't even in our minds. And yet that's what we're doing now. No, our main series are not primarily shot on phones. However, there are some scenes, some shots, and some scenes in Out of Egypt. That's what we shot it on.
Really?
There were a couple of locations that we went to where they said they didn't want us using large cameras, and just for security reasons, and so we had our phones. I say that to say 10 years from now, who knows how we're going to be producing that visual media. But whatever the tools look like, storytelling has been part of humanity since the beginning. And so we want to continue to find ways to engage people with the greatest story ever told. And there's a reason why it's lasted and thrived for thousands of years, is because no matter the format in which the story has been told, for many years it was verbally, it eventually was written down. There came a point in human history where we could finally mass produce copies of it with the printing press. But whatever the tools are available to us, we want to continue to create content that helps people engage with that life-changing story. So virtual reality, maybe, will you see us maybe walking around Israel with goggles on, capturing the content? Who knows?
You never know. Never say
Never
never,
know.
right?
That's right. That's right.
So as someone deeply passionate about making the Bible relevant, what resources or advice would you recommend for families or an individual seeking to deepen their biblical understanding?
I mean, obviously, shameless plug. I think we've got some resources that people could use.
Of
So
course.
definitely check that out. Honestly, we produced some podcasts. Some of them involve me and Stuart, but the ones that I advocate the most are the ones that don't involve me and Stuart. Specifically, there's one called Listen, My Children, that Justin Dobbs, one of our hosts, actually sits down with his kids and does short Bible studies with them. One, to help explain parts of the book of Proverbs, but two, to help parents learn how to do that with their own kids. So he offers advice on engaging with the kids of different ages, engaging with one or more kids. So he does all of that in our podcast series, and it's a video series as well called Listen, My Children. When it comes to other resources, The way that I prefer to study the Bible is reading the book as often as you can. Like, read the text.
Yeah.
Start by reading the text. Now, there are great resources that you can use. Frankly, there's a website that I love called Bible Hub,
Mm-hmm.
BibleHub.com. And the thing that I love about it is you can find a Bible passage, and then it will provide for you like 15 or 20 different translations of that
Mm-hmm.
passage. And that's helpful to me. I don't know what your preferred translation is, but it's helpful to me just to kind of
Yeah.
see how the various translators are, translating that. Um, Maybe it gives some words that helps me kind of make better sense of
Yeah.
the text.
That's me. I have
Uh,
I'm terrible with the thou and thee, and I'm like, okay,
right.
let me read something else so I can get a better understanding.
Yeah. Some
I
of us struggle with the Old English. Yep, I'm one of those as well. And so I always recommend, have a version that's comfortable for you to read at home. That should be your regular go-to
Yeah.
study version, whatever you decide that is. Um, but commonly read others, especially as you're studying for yourself. I'm a big fan of finding resources, whether they're online or they're podcasts, that help you get some of the historical and cultural context to
Mm-hmm.
what you're reading. There's a danger in that because sometimes we spend so much time on that we forget what the text is saying.
Yeah.
You know, there's a reason why I think God doesn't spend a lot of time in these biblical stories laying down the history and the culture. He gives us what we need to
Mm-hmm.
understand what was happening there. Um, but then there's instruction and there's wisdom and there's teaching in there that he wants us to focus on more. So find some time.
Yeah.
Try to understand something that drives what we do with Appian Media is we're trying to give people at least as much historical and cultural understanding as the original recipients had, geographical understanding. So when we read the story about the man, Jesus tells the parable of the man who got attacked on the road from Jerusalem to Jericho, and
Mm-hmm.
the Levite passes by and the priest passes by. Well, what did that road look like? The original recipients, the original hearers of that parable, probably knew very well what the road from Jerusalem to Jericho was and it was desolate and dangerous. Um, we don't necessarily know that, at
Right.
least as 21st century American Christians. Um, so, engage with content that helps you visualize those things.
Mm-hmm.
Appian Media, among others. Drive Through History is a series that I enjoy watching sometimes. I haven't seen all of their content, but Dave Stotts is a gentleman
What's the
who
name of it? Drive.
it's called Drive Through History.
Mhm. Okay.
Um, and boy, Dave Stotts, we were blessed to be able to interview him a few years ago. That guy has traveled just about to every known biblical location. Um, and his is obviously, as the title suggests, heavy on the history.
Mm-hmm.
But that is very helpful when you're studying the text. And so, um, yeah, there's a lot of different resources online, but avail yourself of some of those.
Well, I hear listen, my children, BibleHub.com and Drive Through History. So at
Yeah,
least
just to name a few. Yep.
just to name a few, but those sound like good ones. I'm gonna actually check them out myself. W- Craig, what advice would you give to someone looking to combine their career with their passion for faith-based work?
Yeah, there are ways in which we can shine our light and have an impact for Christ in any career.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are some careers that will allow us to do things or produce things that are very, forward facing, kingdom type of work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my advice is to find a way to shine your light in whatever industry that you're in.
Yeah.
Some industries are easier to do that than others, but you can do that wherever you're at.
Yeah.
Maybe you're serving food, and I'm not necessarily creating Bible food, but I'm engaging with human beings
Mhm. Yeah.
who will benefit from the gospel. And so, in what ways can I do my work so that I can help shine that light? Either how I work or how I talk to people when I'm serving them. Um, if there are creatives who are passionate about their faith, it doesn't have to be documentary films. It doesn't have to be podcasts. Maybe it's books. Maybe it's blogs. Maybe it's just different stuff online. Um, there's so many different ways that you can communicate, your passion and do good kingdom work. Um, but I think a good piece of advice that I would give is don't compare your kingdom work to someone else's kingdom work and think it's less valuable.
Yeah.
You do what you can do with what God has given you where you're at. Strive for more. Try to stretch yourself and grow your talents, but don't begrudge the 5-talent man if you feel like you're a 1-talent.
Exactly.
Use what God's given you and glorify Him in that process. And Jesus actually says that He will entrust us with more if we prove ourselves dependable with what we've been given.
That's right. Craig, what are you grateful for?
Hmm. I'm grateful for my family. I have a wife and 3 children, and a father and several siblings. And I'm grateful for people that I can go to that share our faith, remind me of what's important, keep me grounded. My wife is very good at that. Um, I'm grateful for new opportunities. I mean, God continues to surprise me. I would not have believed you 10 years ago if you had told me that I would be doing what I'm doing right now. This was not on my roadmap. Um, I'm grateful for the people who stretch me and push me and encourage me to try new things. And I'm grateful for the failures when things don't always go well.
Yeah.
I have learned far more from the failures and from the unforeseen difficulties than I likely have learned from my successes. And so trying to recognize that. It's easy to say afterwards. I usually struggle
Yeah.
when it's happening right now.
Yeah.
But being able to look at those things and go, okay, what can I learn? What is God trying to teach me? And I am grateful when He allows me to experience that.
How can my listeners, if they want to see your documentaries or get in touch with you, how can they follow you? How would you have a YouTube, Instagram?
Yes, absolutely. So Appian Media, APPIAN media.org is our website. You can search for Appian Media on YouTube and you'll find our channel on there. When you go to our website and you fill out that contact form, it'll actually come to me. You can talk to me, and I'm always open to answer questions and share as best I can. And our social channels, again, you can just search for Appian Media. We're on Instagram and Facebook, and haven't delved into TikTok yet, but I think I'm
Not
just
yet, huh?
not quite hip enough for that. Um, but yeah, you should just be able to Google Appian Media and you'll likely find us.
Perfect. Any final thoughts?
I'm thankful for the opportunity to share the story. And I'm thankful for what you're doing, highlighting other people, and I've listened to some of your interviews, and I'm just thankful for the encouragement and the inspiration that you are, and I
Thank
hope
you.
people are inspired by it.
Thank you. Thank you. And I know that they're inspired by what you're doing. You and your partner, you're doing amazing things, and please continue. I'm definitely subscribing to your channel so I can sit down and watch a few of your documentaries. And I promise you, I will watch one at a time. And I will
Don't binge watch.
and I will binge watch them. I will watch one along with my Bible. And I promise you that.
Well, great. Let me know what you think. The good and the bad. We always encourage people to tell us, how we can do better in the future.
Perfect. I definitely will. And this wraps up our enlightening conversation with Craig Dehut. And I hope you, as my listeners, enjoy today's episode. And I pray that you gain valuable insights into how digital media can bridge generational gaps in faith and education. Remember, you can explore Appian Media's incredible resources and connect further with Craig's work through their website and social media channels. I thank you for tuning in to Sheila's Take. If you love this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, share it with your friends, and please stay curious, stay inspired, and until next time, keep taking those steps to make a difference. Until next time, remember to embrace the journey, build lasting connections, and step boldly into all that life has in store for you. I'm your host, Sheila Dunbar. Blessings to you.